to introduce Sakeena. Sakeena is a professional writer with over 20 years of experience writing content, blog posts, and articles for both online and print publications. I think it would be such a great job to help people land their dream jobs. How fun. She's the former owner of Vertical Resume, a resume writing service where she served as head editor. And currently, she focuses most of her time freelance writing and is launching a do-it-yourself resume writing course to help budget-conscious professionals craft their own winning resumes. So welcome, Sakeena. We are really happy to have you here.
Thank you so much. It's good to be here. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and get started if we're ready. Again, as she mentioned, my name is Sakeena. I'm currently in Grand Rapids and freezing like everyone else here because we just got a bunch of snow last night. So I was really scared taking my daughter out this morning, hoping that I could get back home because the roads are horrible. So yes, let's go ahead and get started. As she mentioned a little bit about me, I've worked as a professional writer for over 20 years. I did have a resume writing service for a number of years, working as both a resume writer as well as a career coach, and also writing for some of the bigger names in our industry. And currently I am living in Grand Rapids and pursuing a degree in software engineering. So today we're going to go over the steps that you need to take before writing your resume, what documents and tools you want to have ready to help you prepare for your job search. And we're also going to go into actually writing your resume, and that includes keywords, do's and don'ts. And I'm going to share some resources with you to help you create a professional quality resume, as well as some of your other documents like your cover letter, your reference sheet, thank you emails. And lastly, we're going to go into the job search process. We're going to look at different avenues for finding a job, from job boards, networking, online career fairs, and we're also going to touch on how you can improve your prospects of the job search through follow-up. Okay, so writing your resume and preparing for a job search can definitely feel overwhelming, but with the right preparation, you can walk into your job feeling confident and ready. I just want to let you know that once we go into some of the different areas in terms of writing your resume and also the interview process, if you have any questions, please feel free to jot those down and then we can circle back to those at the end. And some of the things that you're going to need to gather in order to write your resume may include past employee evaluations that you have. That could include glowing reviews on your work performance that you can use both in your resume or also in your cover letter. You want to have on hand a copy of your previous resume, if you have one, to include any important dates or past employers, and also a clear idea of the type of role that you're going to be seeking. One of the most important things that I always utilize when writing a resume is a printout of the job description for the position that you're going to be applying for. And we'll go into that in a little bit more detail here shortly. Okay, so what is the point of your resume? Does anyone want to take a stab at that? What is the point of having a resume?
Highlighting your accomplishments.
Okay, yes, definitely. So I would say, from a resume writer standpoint, the point of having your resume is to get you an interview. You want to get your foot in the door. Of course, on your resume, you're going to highlight your accomplishments, as she said, but it's not necessarily to get you the job, it's to get that first step of getting you the interview. And does anyone know about how long a recruiter typically looks at your resume?
I'm going to guess 30 seconds.
30
I'm getting
seconds?
30 seconds unless if they like you right off the bat. Is that right?
The average length of time that a recruiter will look at your resume is about 6 to 7 seconds.
Oh my goodness.
Yes.
Okay. Wow.
I know. And I know that seems shockingly short for such an important document, especially one that you spent a lot of time and possibly money on. But I don't want you to focus on that. Let's focus on what we can do in order to make an impact during that very short amount of time. And I think just to kind of demystify that, like, why is that so short? How is it possible for them to actually look at all of my career history and the things that I've accomplished in a short amount of time? They're really kind of assessing it and putting it in like a yes or no pile. And so the yes pile is really, let me look at this further later. And then obviously the no pile is, this looks all over the place. This isn't clear. This isn't holding their attention. It's just a no. So you want to go on the yes pile, which is really, they're going to take another look at your resume later on. Okay. So typically your resume should be no more than 2 pages. A new graduate, someone who has very little career experience, can absolutely get away with a 1-page resume. I had a client once who had a 4-page resume who was sent to me by a recruiter who wanted him to cut the resume in half. And after I did that, he still wanted to lengthen it to at least 3 pages. But again, when you know what the recruiters are kind of looking for, what their job entails, they just simply do not have the time to go through 4- and 5-page documents. It's not standard. And you want the recruiter to like you. You want to get on their good side. So adding additional, documents and pages and making it that much harder for them to comb through is not gonna help you to get in that yes pile that we want you to be in.
Can
Okay.
I ask a question real quick?
Uh-huh.
I'm sorry to interrupt.
No,
Around
you're
that,
fine.
so something I've heard time and time again is you actually want it less than 2 pages. So someone even with extensive work history, try to get it down to 1 page. Is there, do you think that there's any value in trying to bring it down to just 1 page? Or is 2 pages really like a sweet spot for someone who has more work experience to add into the resume?
I think if you have more work experience, obviously like 10 plus years, you're 100% okay to have a 2-page resume. That is standard. I understand, trying to be concise. But I feel like when you have such a long career history, being concise can be a disservice to you because there's so many important projects, keywords, positions that you may have held that deserve to be on there. And when I look at your resume document, it's really like prime real estate. You have only a certain amount of space that you can include all of your accomplishments, those important keywords. So I absolutely would want someone who has 10, 15, 20 years to have a 2-page resume.
Okay, cool. Good to know. Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, and 2 of the most important things that I want you to focus on when writing your resume are content and aesthetics. So number 1, looking at content. The content on your resume is extremely important. It is the most important thing. And that is the keywords that you choose to include on your resume should be carefully selected. Your summary, your skills section, the job descriptions that you write on your resume, these all play a very important part in helping you to be discovered by prospective employers. So when you're writing your resume, you want to give some thought to it being ATS ready. ATS stands for Applicant Tracking System, and that's a computer software program. It's used by different companies, a lot of time larger companies. About 98% of Fortune 500 companies use ATS systems when they are screening applicants. So what that means is if they open up for a position, maybe they get 500 resumes. They don't actually have someone sitting there looking at 500 resumes. So they'll use a system like that will scan in your resume. And a lot of times that's based on the job description that they've posted. So that's what I mean by your content. When you have relevant keywords, from that job description based on what that employer is looking for, that helps you to score higher within their software. And then that will shoot those people out who are at the top of that scoring to get in front of human eyes, to get in front of that hiring manager, to get in front of that recruiter. So yes, if you're not familiar with ATS, that's essentially what it does. But just by kind of going through a little trick that I show you here, it'll help you to kind of score a little bit better when you're using, for employers that use that, which is many of the larger employers use that system.
So Sakeena, quick question, sorry. Are you recommending then that you, I'll say enhance, revise your resume for every job you apply for? I would do, I usually have done my cover letter. That's why I'm asking, just for a clarification on my side.
I would definitely say to enhance it. So
Okay.
once you go through this process and you've written your resume and you do all the things that we outline here, you will definitely have to enhance it based on different positions that you apply for.
Makes sense. Thank you.
When you look at that job description, you want your resume to reflect what they're looking for as closely as possible.
Yeah.
And of course, like certain things are not going to change. The college that you went to is not going to change. Your address, your personal information, those titles are not going to change, but some of the skills may be different. Your summary may be a little bit different depending on what that other position is. So it's not a complete overhaul, but like you said, a little bit of a refresh, a little bit of an enhancement tailored to some of the new positions that you're applying for.
Thank you. Awesome.
Okay. And also going into the content piece, when you write your job descriptions, you want to detail what you did when you were at your previous job, not what you were responsible for. So employees can be responsible for a lot of different things. That does not mean that they actually did any of those things. So employers want to know what you did. So when you're writing those job descriptions, you want to use verbs on your resume in the job descriptions to show the things that you actually accomplished. So let's take a look at a verb list here. And this one, the picture is not showing on my end. Are you able to see
It's not showing on ours
verb list?
either.
Yeah, we don't, yep.
No? Okay. Well, it's Friday, but it's gonna act like a Monday. So I will send everyone in the email that goes out after this, the verb list that was attached here. But
I can throw it in the chat for you. I've got it.
oh, you do?
Awesome.
Awesome. Oh my God, that helps so much. Okay, so with the verb list.
And we'll send the slides out to everyone afterwards. Sorry to interrupt.
Oh, well, that's
so-
okay. I'm so glad that you're able to share that in the chat. So with the verb list here, this one is specific to resumes that you can use when you're writing your career documents. You want to start your sentence with a verb so that you can describe to the reader something specific that you did. And also, if you search online, you will find other resume lists that are similar to this. So if you want to have 2 or 3 that you print off and have as a guide as you're writing your resume, that wouldn't be a bad idea. And so after you've written your resume, you want to triple check it. Use the built-in spell checker, of course, but also print off your resume and go line by line and read it out loud. See if everything looks good on paper, and it sounds correct when you're reading it aloud. I also do a check specifically for punctuation. So when I print off a resume, I go line by line and look at the end of each sentence and make sure the punctuation is there, make sure the proper punctuation is there. It's very thorough, but this is the most important career document that you're going to have. So you definitely want to spend some time going through it and going through all of your checks. And lastly, if you have a friend or a family member who can be a second pair of eyes and review it for you as well, to make sure that you haven't missed anything, that would be I would highly recommend that you do that as well. And were you able to add the verb list to the chat?
I did.
Melissa? Okay, good.
Yes.
And the reason I mentioned using more than one of these is because sometimes you'll see they have different lists specific different industries, like tech is very specific, and they'll have like a tech kind of keyword list that's very helpful. So if you find some of those, that are specific to your industry, it would be great to get some of those too. Okay, and so the second most important thing that I wanted to focus on when writing your resume is aesthetics. So you want your resume to look great. You want it to wow that hiring manager. The old adage of you can't judge a book by its cover does not apply to resumes. Your hiring manager will absolutely judge your resume by what it looks like. So here we have a couple of examples of resumes that were designed by professional resume writers. All of these examples are from the Career Directors website. It's an organization that holds annual resume writing awards for best resume in various fields, best cover letter, et cetera. And I'll include the link to that as well if you want to take a look at some of the other resumes that they have for examples. These ones here, if you look at, you can see they're very different from a generic kind of like Word document, like template that you would get just opening up Word or Pages. They're very detailed. A lot of times they're customized based on industry, sometimes reflecting the person's personality, who they're writing for. So I want you to just kind of take inspiration from some of these and look at elements that you may like, whether it's a color combination or graphical elements that you might think you want to incorporate into your resume. And now that we've kind of looked at some of these like higher level examples, I want to give you an idea of what you can do with your resume. So these templates here are all from Etsy. I like the styling of all of these templates. As you can see, they're a lot more clean and streamlined than some of the other ones, the ones that we looked at on the previous slide, but they're still professional. They're still, they still have certain like graphical elements to them. You can see the icons in the one on the right. You can see the color on the one on the left here, and the use of font for the design. So these ones are all, I believe, $10 or less. So they're all very affordable, but they still are very nice, professional looking templates that you can purchase and then just add your information over to. And sometimes you'll see like a resume bundle where it has the resume, but it also has the reference sheet with it, or it'll have the cover letter that comes to it. If you can get one that has that bundle, I would recommend that because you will need the cover letter and you will also need a reference sheet as well. If you find one that you really like and it doesn't have the cover letter, you could always save the first page of your resume as a cover letter and then just delete the content under the header and then add your letter to that. Okay, so don't try to wear all of the hats. And what I mean by that is not trying to cram every possible skill and accomplishment into one resume. And that goes back to what Melissa asked at the beginning. Depending on what your career goal is, the types of positions that you're applying to, you may have one or two, possibly three different versions of your resume. And again, these are something that, could be slight revisions. It's not a complete overhaul. You're not creating, entirely different documents per se, but you go through the work of getting a really solid resume down to start with. And then you can update your titles. You can update your summary a little bit. You can update your skill section, but you want those to look as if they are specific to project management or software engineering or IT. You don't want just one resume if you know that within your skill set, there's a couple of different positions that you can apply for. You want that recruiter to see that you've done the work and you're tailoring it to those jobs that you're applying to. Okay, so now we're going to look at job hunting. Job hunting in itself is a full-time job. Once you've reached this point, and you should have a few things in your arsenal. So you'll have a solid resume or a CV, you'll have your cover letter, you've got 2 to 4 references ready to go. Maybe you have a thank you letter or an email. And also hopefully an updated LinkedIn profile. We haven't touched on LinkedIn yet, but it can be your best friend as a job seeker. If you don't have a LinkedIn profile, I would encourage you to sign up for one today. It's completely free. There are tons of recruiters who are on LinkedIn looking for talent every day. I know this presentation is on resume writing, so we don't have time to go into the intricacies of LinkedIn. But you absolutely want to have a presence there. And it also including an optimized profile, like some of the same keywords that you're going to have in your resume, you can easily apply to your LinkedIn profile as well. And there's also a feature on LinkedIn that allows you to let recruiters know that you're looking for work. And so then they can reach out to you and say, I see you're looking for a position, and, your skill set, what you have in your profile matches what I'm, looking for, and they can reach out to you and invite you to apply for a position. And that's something that happens all the time. So it's a great resource to utilize that doesn't cost anything. And just a quick note on the thank you email. Obviously in the past, employers would send physical letters if you got the job, if you didn't get the job. Mostly everything is done by email, but just keeping with online etiquette, you still want to acknowledge an employer if they send you an email about a position that you've applied for. So if you have just kind of a thank you email template saved in your drafts folder, then you're able to easily respond when an employer reaches out to you. Okay. And when you're searching for a job, I want you to consider multiple different avenues for finding your next job. So we all know about online job boards, such as Indeed, Career Builder, Monster. Let's look at a couple of other options that you might not have looked into yet. So LinkedIn, as we mentioned previously, they have their own database and tools that you can use. That should absolutely be a part of your job search. Networking is one of the best ways to find a job. And one statistic out there says that 85% of all jobs are filled through networking. And that source is from LinkedIn. Unpublished jobs is another possibility. And before you say, how am I supposed to know about an unpublished job if it's not posted? Let me explain. So many companies offer bonuses to their employees if they refer you to a position. At the previous company that I worked for, it was $500 per referral. So my supervisor actually referred 2 of his family members, and then it was around the same time, and then he got a $1,000 bonus check because both of those people were hired in. And other companies, of course, have different pay structures, but in an IT group I was in, I was just speaking to him the other day, and she said at her job, it's a $3,000 referral bonus for new hires. So that's a huge incentive for someone to submit your resume internally for them, because they're going to get this bonus if you get hired on. So if you don't know someone who works at a company that you're looking to apply to, there are sites like refer.me where you can utilize, and those people have signed up. They work for certain employers that offer those hiring bonuses, and they will submit a resume on behalf of you, hoping that you get hired and they get a bonus. So it's a really cool site to kind of check out. It could be something that you add to your job search, especially if you're looking for some of the larger companies that are listed on that site. And another tool is to go to websites and just head straight to their careers page. You may not always stumble across a job listing on a job board, They may have posted it on their website first, or they may only be posting it on their website, depending on how much traffic they get to their site. So if you know you want to work for Facebook or Google or whatever the employer is, go to their website, go to the career section and see what they have available. You're not just limited only to going to job boards. Additionally, headhunters, recruiters, they get compensated by placing you into a position. So that's also something that you can utilize. Temp agencies and paid internships can also be an option for you. Sometimes when you're with a temp agency, it starts out as a temporary role, but it can turn into a permanent position. And sometimes companies are saying it's a temporary role because it's a trial. They want to make sure that someone's going to perform. They want to make sure that someone's going to do that job, and then that can be a permanent job offer. So those are a couple options as well. And of course, you also want to tell everyone that you know that you're looking for a job. You don't want to keep it a secret. You might, create a Facebook post and say, oh, I just got my resume done and, I'm looking for X, Y, and Z. If you know someone who, if your company is hiring, reach out to me, etc. Years ago, I had my best friend's husband. I wrote a resume for him, but he was a client, but he was looking for a job, and he was having a little bit of trouble finding a job because of the industry that he was in. And he went to a community function and saw one of his friends that he hadn't seen in some time. And his friend said to him, oh, what's the matter? You seem like you're kind of down. Said, well, I've been having a hard time finding a job. He said, oh, well, they're hiring at my job. And, he put him in touch with a supervisor. He applied there and he got hired. So you can take a look at all of these different things and apply them to your job search. But you want to apply as many as possible, because you don't know, and I don't know where your next job is going to come from. It could come from a job board, or it could come from LinkedIn, or it could come from you having a conversation with a friend or family member. And when you upload your resume to the online job boards, such as Indeed, you are able to turn on a feature that will create an alert for the job that you're interested in. So if you're applying for a content management position, you can create an alert for that. And every time a new job is posted with those keywords, that's for a content manager, you'll get an email that says, we've got 5 new jobs that were posted today for content management. So I highly recommend that you do that. That way, the moment an employer posts a new position, you get an alert in your email for that job. So you're not stumbling upon it weeks later after it's been posted and hundreds of people have applied. You're being extremely proactive and making it easier for yourself by automating that kind of an alert. And this is also a feature that is on LinkedIn as well. So if you're on a job board on LinkedIn looking for a position, I highly recommend that that's something that you take advantage of. And lastly, I want you to be optimistic in your job search. I want you to go through the job search process with a glass half full mentality. No glass half empty thoughts allowed. I know it can be frustrating and even scary trying to find a job in this climate, but it will really make the process that much easier if you have more of a brighter outlook on things. When you take these steps and you are prepared, you've got your documents in order, you have your references ready, you've got your profiles updated, that's going to remove some of that stress from the process because you've taken those steps to be prepared. But you don't want to go into an interview and you're just completely overwhelmed, right? And you're stressed out, and then that's palpable. Like they can see you're, just, sweating, right? So go into this process and be optimistic. Know that you've done your work. Know that you've prepared yourself, and it'll make it that much easier for your job search. And lastly, treat yourself. I just want you to do something good for yourself, whether it's getting your favorite cup of coffee or getting a pastry from your favorite bakery. If you're in Grand Rapids, that's Nantucket, and it's a Nutella muffin. do something good for yourself after you've gone through this process, after you've done all the work. Because it is, you know, it can be a little bit daunting, but I want you to do something good for yourself after you've taken all of those steps and gotten to this point. And that's it. If you have any questions, please let me know.
I do have a question, and Sakeena, I don't know, maybe this is something that I would connect with you afterwards, separately, but so feel free to let me know after I ask. So I work for a private equity company currently, and it's ever changing because we're ever growing. So my job title changes on the regular. Not necessarily the work that I'm focused on, just as they realign departments and realign you know, actual titles of our roles, those titles change as well. So I would probably say, like, over the past year, even though I've been on the same team doing the same work, I've had three or four different titles. And I don't want to lie on my resume, but is it fair for me to say just like the most recent title that I'm currently in and not list the rest? Like, I mean, what would you recommend there on the resume?
Yeah, if you're looking to kind of be concise and you have a certain amount of space that you work with, you can list your current title. I have seen resumes where they will list all of the previous titles of a role, and sometimes that can, you know, be extensive.
Yeah.
But
and I
you can
worry that it will look bad. Like I'm not doing a good job in these roles, and that's why they keep changing me, you know?
Yeah, I
Sorry
mean,
to interrupt.
yeah, for that, you could definitely just list your current position. And then when you get to the interview, obviously talk about then some of the other roles that you've had within that short amount of time. And also what I've seen done too is if someone was in a lower position and then you got promoted to another position, you do want to list that because that shows the quality of work that you've done, you know, like
Okay.
I was promoted from this to this, you know, so I do like to include that when it was a promotion and not just like something that was like horizontal, but like a vertical shift in your role. That's always
Okay.
good to add.
Because that one is also another pain point for me too, when I'm trying to condense down my resume is with that. Yes, I was promoted like 3 times in 1 year.
Mhm.
And I mean, I know they could see that within the resume, but trying to condense it down to 1 or 2 pages definitely can be a challenge.
It's a science.
Yeah. Yeah,
It is definitely a science
it is.
to condense it and to get those really important things in there.
Mhm.
But yes, and you can even include that just by saying promoted to X, Y, and Z, you know, without listing all of
Yeah.
them. And then as you get into the interview, expand upon that and state
Okay.
where you started and that you were promoted multiple times and then what those reasons were for.
Okay, got it. Thank you. That's
Yeah.
helpful.
I have a question / comment.
Mhm.
First of all, thank you for today. This is awesome. And I think what astonished me the most is that you can put, I'm just going to call it creativity into your resume and add some color and some visuals to it where I'll date myself now, where we've always been told it's black and white, it's 1 page, it's bulleted and that's it. Right. So I really like to see how I can now expand with comfort versus concern.
Right. Yes, you can.
in doing that.
Yes, you can. And it's funny because one of the clients that I did a resume for, when she was in the interview, after she walked out the room and she's waiting because then they're bringing another manager in, and she came back and they said, oh, you're, you know, so-and-so, you're the one that had the beautiful resume. And, you know, I wanted to show you that you can, you know, have some creative freedom a little bit there and really kind of have things that speak to your personality and have different fonts and things like that. And it doesn't have to be a completely custom resume if that's not something that, you know, you want to do. but you can kind of play around a little bit. And I think they appreciate that. When for someone who looks at resumes all day long and they see those generic black and white templates, it's nice to see that somebody put a little bit more thought into it.
You know, I'm going to go back to the last question about titles. When I worked for Siemens, they called people account managers. And for some reason in the business world, they think of account manager as a salesperson. And I can't believe how many calls I got about a sales position, which was exactly what I did not want. So I finally just changed my title on LinkedIn so that I would get the people I was actually looking for. And this was years ago. So I hope that helps whoever asked the question earlier. What spotlights best what you've done, and that's my opinion. But Sakeena's the expert.
Good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
Morning.
Oh, I have used Sakeena services before, and I can speak firsthand. I think it's been what, Sakeena, 10, 12 years ago, maybe?
It's been a while. I'm really old.
And honestly speaking, it really sets you apart on your resume when you walk in, and all these things that you talked about, I have experienced firsthand. And having color in your resume makes a big difference because you're calling out in color, you're calling out really those jobs that you're looking for. And I know my wife has used them as well. I have had with her resume job offers in the UK, Abu Dhabi, Tokyo. I mean, it really works because they will pick you up based on these APIs that she's talking about. So my wife I think Dina got her last job with your resume.
Oh, good.
She did, yep. And she is a manager of advanced analytics at Meyer. So it's not just, simple jobs. I mean, it really ranges. She works with a lot of different clients from simple resumes all the way up to executives. So if you guys need help, you want to look at my resume, I'd be happy to share it with you. But she really knows what she's talking about and does a great job.
Thank you.
Are you still taking clients, Sakeena?
Yes, I'm open. Here's my email on the screen here. I did want to add too, I'm also working on a DIY resume writing course for people who want to kind of learn to write their own resume, but also kind of want a little bit of hand-holding as well. So please reach out to me in email if you want to kind of be added to that list as I work on getting that rolled out.
Very good.
Like your coffee cup.
I'm drinking pumpkin spice coffee and it says hello pumpkin. I don't care how cold it is. I'm gonna still hold on to pumpkin spice.
There you go.
I make my own. I have essential oils that I add cinnamon and oh my gosh, I can't remember the other oil now that basically makes that pumpkin spice.
Clove, probably.
Yeah, I think it probably is clove. I don't remember. And then I add my own little cream, and so yeah.
That's why you're so spunky all the time, huh? All right, any other questions? This was excellent. Thank you so much. And a couple people have left and they've already left some chat messages saying this was great. So thank you. Thank you. This was just awesome. Really appreciate your time.
Yes, thank you so much. Appreciate this today.
Oh, you're so welcome. I'm just seeing the comments now because obviously I couldn't read them while I was presenting. So I hope everyone got their comments answered. If not, feel free to email me. Happy to still chat and help out.
Perfect. Thank you. And we'll send out the slide deck to everyone so that you'll have the verb list.